So, well, another aspect that came was that one of feeling proud of something, right? Of feeling that you belong to a place, in this case to the school where they were doing their practicum. So I found that that was very important, the sense of feeling proud of yourself. It was important to your identity, to your sense of identity as a teacher. I got these quotes from my participants. I have, for example, that after a few sessions, the student teachers became really happy because they noticed that their own students became excited to see them teach. So that was something really interesting because I began seeing in a lot of these weekly sessions that I had with the participants that they began talking all the time about, oh, the students were very happy and they were like, teacher, I'm so glad that you came to teach us today. And yes, I was very excited that it was Tuesday because, oh, by the way, the classes were only on Tuesday because my participants were still university students. That is, they still had 6 other classes in their program, so they only went one day to do their practicum to these other schools, which was Tuesdays in this case. So they said that their students were happy to see them every Tuesday, that some of them told them that they were really excited and waiting for it to be Tuesday so that they could have class also with them, not only with the teacher that was their mentor. So this made them feel really happy and really proud. Also, they said that they felt very happy, very well. This one mentioned it was heartwarming to see that they enjoyed my class and that they would like me to be their teacher. That was also something really interesting, that a lot of the students identified with the student teachers, probably because the trainees were younger than their regular teachers, but they felt really identified and close to them. So they were always following them, even in the during the school breaks, to ask them for advice, to ask them about the classes, etc. So they constantly told them that they enjoy their classes, and some of them even got these comments like, "Oh, I hope you can be our teacher the next year," and so on. So those kinds of comments make the trainees feel really proud, and that motivated them more to plan their classes. Another thing also that made them feel proud was not only the recognition by the students, but by their own mentor. Mentors began recognizing them as professionals, as professional teachers, even though they were students, and they began asking them for advice too. That was really interesting too, because they said that, like this example, they said, my mentor said that she will try to do the same that I am doing, to create my own material. Or here you have, my mentor asked me for feedback. I told her that she should do blah 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 blah. So that was really really important for them, because they felt as teachers, and they mentioned that in their journals and in the discussions that I have, and in the focus groups. They mentioned exactly that they felt that they were teachers. They felt as teachers, not as students teachers anymore, but as teachers. And not only as teachers, but as professional teachers, because their mentors, people with years of experience in the area, were recognizing that they were doing a good job. So they also mentioned that these allow them to prepare more. They said, no, if my mentor is saying that I'm doing a good job, I have to prepare my class better tomorrow too, for next week. Or they actually worried more about the planning of their lessons, and they worry more about having this variation of activities so that their students and their mentors continue to feel proud of them. This was really, really interesting. For example, here we have that they said they were doing their best because they wanted their family to see their job. It was awesome. This refers to a particular class in which a student had a demonstration of the things that her students were working with during the semester. So the students were also very motivated. These were of, I think it was elementary school, and they were really excited, the kids, because they were going to speak in English to their parents. And now this brought recognition to this student teacher from the parents too. So now the student teacher felt proud because she was being recognized by the students, by the mentors and by the parents of the students. So it was like, of course, everybody likes to be praised, right? Like we like it when people tell us that we are doing a good job. And this, of course, had a huge impact in their identity as teachers. That is, it motivated them to want to be better teachers and of their autonomy too, because it motivated them to take responsibility of their teaching so that their students continue, and well, the whole population continue seeing them as good teachers. So that's what they wanted, recognition of being proud, of feeling proud. So, well, overall, I identified this is something that I really like about my thesis, and I consider that is one of my biggest contributions. There are patterns of identity that I found. I had my participants were in these cases. Some of them wanted to be teachers. That is, they had a positive teacher identity. They considered the teaching was really awesome and they had positive arguments for teaching. And they also had a positive learner identity. That is, they consider themselves to be good students with students. And what I found is the first block here on the presentation that says that positive teacher and learner identity resulted in an increase of learner and teacher autonomy. Yeah, of the learner teacher autonomy. So they wanted to take control of their learning and of their teaching. Now, other people that also showed positive teacher identity, another pattern, sorry, was the second one. People that had a positive learner identity, that is, they thought of themselves as being good learners, but they didn't really want to be teachers. They had a negative teacher identity. However, they worked with a mentor that they considered a good teacher and a good mentor. So as they were inspired by their mentor, they saw these examples of them. Their mentor motivated them to be teachers, and at the end they changed their mind. So they changed that negative teacher identity to a positive teacher identity, and of course they increased their autonomy. That was really interesting. Another pattern was kind of similar but not really. So it was positive learner identity but negative teacher identity with a negative mentor. Negative mentor in the sense that student teachers didn't consider this mentor to be a good teacher. These people kept a negative teacher identity. That is, at the end of their semester, they still didn't improve their ideas of teaching. They still didn't want to be teachers, but they did increase their autonomy. Why? Because they still believed that they were good students. So they wanted to still be considered in the university as good students. So that was really interesting too. But still, teachers and the teacher identity, that didn't change. Another case was when there was not really a change in their autonomy. This was when student teachers had a positive teacher identity, but a negative learner identity, or the opposite, a negative teacher identity, but a positive learner identity. When student teachers had a positive image of teaching, but had a negative image of themselves as learners, autonomy didn't happen. Why? Because all their decisions were made merely based on what their teachers, what their mentors told them to do, and on what their supervisors told them to do. So they didn't really go beyond that. They stayed like that. They only did what was necessary to pass the class and to teach the class. But they didn't really take responsibility for their own learning. The opposite case, negative teacher identity but positive learner identity. These were people that didn't like teaching but considered themselves to be really good students. So still, they did exactly the same as the others. They did only what their teachers told them to do because they were not interested at all in being teachers, because they wanted to be recognized as good students. So there was no change in autonomy. And the last one, people that didn't have a positive, that had a negative teacher identity and a negative learner identity, also didn't develop autonomy because they were just not interested at all in the class. Yeah. So as you can see, the mentor does play a role in the development of autonomy, but not necessarily in the change of identity of the student teachers. I think that the fourth one is the one that is sometimes more confusing. So just remember in the fourth one, student teachers that want to be teachers but don't trust in their own skills as learners don't develop autonomy because they only do what their teachers tell them to do and what their supervisors. Student teachers who don't want to be teachers but they think they are really good learners, good students, they don't develop autonomy because they are just there for the grade, not really for learning to be a teacher. So, as conclusions, I found this regarding autonomy. Autonomy is shown mainly during the student-teacher's reflective practice. When they start reflecting about what they did, when they wrote their journals, when we had the weekly sessions, I got more important information, in my opinion, from the journals than from the interviews, because I felt that in the interviews, they were telling me what they thought that I wanted to hear, or they were telling me what they thought made them look better as students or as teachers. But in the reflections, as it was a reflection on their mental processes, they sometimes explain a lot about how they were feeling, what they did, their frustrations, their pride, and that's where that became my main instrument. Collaboration with both good and bad mentors, this is another aspect that I found, has a positive impact on the teacher autonomy as long as student teachers hold a positive identity, that is positive views of either teaching or learning or both. So they have to like learning or teaching in order to have good a good collaboration with their mentor, because that means that you want to do something. Another was that student teacher self-perception as learners has a higher impact, according to what I found, in self-regulation and autonomy than the mentor. That is, you can have what you think is a bad mentor, but if you really want to teach, if you want to be a teacher, or if you consider yourself a good learner, you will try your best to be a better teacher. Some of my participants actually said that they didn't like their mentor because it was a terrible teacher according to their opinion, but they said that they learned because when they were planning their class, they tried to avoid doing what their mentor was doing. So they saw them as examples of what not to do. So technically, they were actually learning during practicum. Do you see? Probably not something positive, but it was positive because it allowed them to prepare better classes as they already knew what they didn't want to do. Well, another one is comments from students, mentors, and supervisors affect the autonomy of student teachers and the self-regulation because they want to be better to continue feeling that they are doing a good job. When people tell them, oh, you are doing great, awesome, keep doing like that, they said, also, I want to be continue doing great. So they prepare more, they did more, they plan their lessons better to continue having that positive image as teachers with the rest of the with their audience, let's say. And I also found that good mentors can have a positive impact on identity and thus on self-regulation and autonomy, because good mentors motivate students, they support them, they work in collaboration with them. So that encouragement allows them to be excited about teaching, and that allows them to improve their own practice. And well, at the end, this was my diagram. So I found that autonomy is built through self-regulation, collaboration, motivation, and pride. Motivation, I think, is really, really, really important because it reflects on your identity. If you don't want to be a teacher, you will do a bad job. It doesn't matter if you have the best one. If you have the best mentor and you don't want to be a teacher, you might change your mind as long as you see yourself as a good student. That is, that you have motivation to at least learn, not necessarily to teach, but to learn. And then mentoring. So those are the 5 elements that I found that contribute to the development of the autonomy in student teachers. So these are some of my references, and well, you can check my whole thesis there on ePrints in the Southampton portal of ePrints. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. My email is ldfd1g14 at Southampton alumni, that co.uk. So if you have any questions, just please don't hesitate